Hey Chris, how you doing?
Hey, doing good.
And where are you today?
I am at my house in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, very cool. Tell us what's the weather like in Nashville today?
The weather's pretty good, about 86 degrees. It flooded yesterday a little bit, which is always fun, but today it looks like it's going to be a little bit drier.
Oh wow, you guys.
You froze up.
Sorry about that. Not floods like you had a couple years ago, right?
No, no, not even close. Small floods, but not anything bad.
Okay, cool. Well,
Yep.
hey, thanks for joining us. We're here with some of the multi-site group. Sorry you couldn't join us live, but via Memorex is just as good. Hey, I wanted to ask you, I just want to see what's going on with Crosspoint. You were with us when we were together here in Denver, talked
hmm
a little bit about Crosspoint. What I'd love for you to do is just take a minute and kind of refresh our memory about Crosspoint multi-site. Tell us about campuses and how many and when they started and kind of the approximate sizes. Just kind of give us a overall feel for multi-site at Crosspoint.
Sure. Well, Crosspoint started right at 12 years ago, and we started our first multi-site. I guess it's been about 6 years at this point. We started kind of by accident because we had a group of people driving about 35, 40 minutes in from a little town just west of Nashville called Dixon. And so we started that campus kind of to keep them happy because they really wanted something in their community and they were driving a long way. So we started that. And we now have 5 campuses, 5 physical campuses, plus an internet campus. And we are about to start our 6th campus. Actually, we're looking at Easter of 2015. We have campuses in size. Our original broadcast campus runs about 3,500 to 4,000 people. Our next largest campus, which is our Bellevue campus, runs about 1,200. And then our Franklin campus runs about 700 to 800. Dixon is about 600, and our Dream Center runs about 150 to 175. So that's our current campuses and kind of their sizes, and they're spread out pretty much around Nashville, with Dixon being the farthest one away, which is about 40 minutes from our broadcast campus.
Okay, cool. Hey, a couple quick questions. Are any of them in portable locations, or they all have their own kind of 24/7 types?
We have
Uh,
one campus that's
okay.
still in a portable situation. They're in a high school. We would love to get them into a more permanent location, but it just hasn't worked. The town that they're in, which is Dixon, is a very small community, and we're having a hard time finding a building that will seat enough people plus have enough parking and kind of be central. And so they have actually been portable for 6 years now, going on 7.
Okay. Hey, gotcha. I didn't realize you guys were starting a campus at Easter. Is it a top secret where you guys are going?
Nope. In fact, we just rolled it out for our church this past weekend. We are going to an area called Mount Juliet, which is just a little bit east of Nashville, about 20 to 25 minutes from the center of the city. And it's actually, I believe, the fastest growing community in the Nashville area. It's made up of about 3 or 4 different communities: Mount Juliet, Donaldson, Hermitage, and so we feel like it's a really central place for us to go. And we looked at the database, and we've got a lot of people, a lot of giving families that are coming in from that location, a lot of small groups in that area, and so we feel like it's a natural next step for us.
Cool. So you guys going to go portable, or are you going to start with a building there, or what's that going to be?
We are looking at probably trying to start with a building. Kind of what we've discovered, at least with our model, is going into schools or similar situations like that just doesn't work anymore for us. Our last couple of campuses that started in schools started off very slowly. It was hard to get them up off the ground, and both of them did really well once we got them into a building. I don't know if that's universal or if that's just for our model or our area. So what we're trying to look for is a building that we can probably lease and more than likely retrofit, probably a warehouse or something of that sort that we can retrofit to be a church building.
Gotcha. Very cool. Hey, tell me, I know you guys have gone through a lot of iterations over the time you've been at CrossPoint with multi-site and just some of the ways you oversee multi-site and all of that. Love to hear, what are you guys learning about multi-site? What's going well? what's challenging. Just kind of
Mhm.
update us and give us kind of insight. And remember, the churches that are a part of this group are kind of on the cutting edges. They're kind of on the very beginning. They have a campus. They're getting ready to start their first campus. So love to hear what you guys are learning, or maybe if you were in their position, maybe some of the things that you along the way.
Sure. One of the big learnings for us, especially with starting new campuses, is that we need a longer on-ramp to actually launching the campus. Kind of our model has been over the last 2 or 3 years that we'll launch a campus anywhere from 6 months to 3 weeks. I mean, it's just if Pete decides he wants a campus, next month we put it together, we make it happen. And while it's exciting to do that, it actually hasn't been that successful for us getting it healthy, getting it strong, getting it where we need it to be. And so for our next campus, we started talking about it a couple of months ago, and we're not going to launch it until Easter of 2015 because we feel like, especially for the campus pastor, they need at least 4 or 5 months to really kind of start tilling the ground for the community that we're going to be planting the campus in. And if it's somebody that we bring in from the outside, they really need to understand who we are, our DNA, before we launch that campus. And so we launched our downtown campus at one point in like literally 8 weeks to now we're taking about 6 to 8 months to launch this campus. So that's been a big learning for us. Is although our pastor is entrepreneurial, he's a church planner, he wants to make things happen, we understand that for the campus to be healthy, we really need a longer on-ramp for us to start. Another thing that we're learning is just, and I think we'll always be learning this, is communication lines. How do they work best between campuses? How does it work with our central support? Really keeping those lines as open as possible. We have moved a little bit away from kind of a campus-driven model to more of a central-driven model, partly because of those communication lines. We feel like if they're coming from one location, that it's more likely to be successful than if it's just kind of bouncing around between campuses. And so we're moving our ministry heads from being on campuses to in more of a central role, to help support the campuses in a better way.
So, and this may not be fair, but would you, in some ways, would you put the move that you're making? It sounds like maybe you're moving a little bit more toward what I would call a life church model. Would that be, not to say you're copying Life Church, but would that be fair to say that you're moving a little more in that direction?
I would definitely say we are moving that direction. There is still, and I can speak from like small groups and ministries, there's still some contextualizing that we allow campuses to do, especially when it comes to small groups. But we are finding that the ministries that are doing the best are the ones that we have a little bit more, I don't want to say control, but we have a little bit more solid direction for them, and they're not just left up to the campuses to kind of figure it out. Our campus pastors, they succeed best when we're able to hand them kind of a system, and then they can contextualize it to their campus.
That's great. I'm kind of laughing, Chris, just because when we are campus pastors, it's control. When we're central support, it's direction.
Exactly.
But I'm not disagreeing with you. I think what you have to find is what's effective in your culture, and whatever's effective, someone's not going to love it. But what I love is you guys have moved from probably a much more entrepreneurial free model into a much more directive model because you're finding it's effective. And what's interesting to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's not because that's Pete's personality to have tons of control and direction, but it's because you're finding it is more effective to work that way. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. I mean, Pete's heart is not control. I mean, if you know Pete, that's not him at all. His biggest meeting that he has every week is when he meets with the campus pastors, and he does it every single week, and he wants to hear their hearts and what's going on the campus. And what drives how we support the campuses comes out of that meeting that Pete has with those campus pastors. He'll come to us as central leaders, and he kind of understands, okay, here's where the needs are because of what he's heard from the campus pastors. So really that kind of drives the direction and the support more than just us sitting at a central level and going, this is what we think the campuses need. It really comes from what we hear from the campus pastors through Pete. And I think it will always be that way. It won't be control from a central level, but it will be, again, it's how you word it, but it's direction and support for what their actual needs are on the ground.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think as senior leaders are listening, I think it'd be very helpful for you guys to think through how do you get the feedback from the campus pastors? How do you stay in touch with that? And then two, how do you adapt to what is most effective that might not fit exactly what you're comfortable with in your personality, but might be more effective in your culture? I think that's a huge learning. Chris, a couple more things while we've got you. I love your Dream Center concept. If you could just tell us, real quickly a little bit about the Dream Center and kind of update us on what's going on there and how it differs a little bit maybe from your other campuses.
Sure. We love our Dream Center. The Dream Center is really the heart of who we are at Crosspoint. We have a serving culture. We have things like our Serving Saturdays where we get out like 3 times a year in mass as a church and just serve our city. And so the Dream Center really embodies that vision and that heart of who we are. The Dream Center is considered a campus. They have a Sunday morning service. But really, they are about Monday through Saturday. Almost every single day of the week, the Dream Center has something going on. Tuesdays, they do basketball leagues. They have tutoring programs. They have a food bank. They have a neighborhood garden where people come and get vegetables. They have just everything you can imagine Monday through Saturday, adopt-a-blocks every single week. And it's really a model that we want to go with. And when we first started the Dream Center, we kind of called it our Campus 2.0 because we knew it wasn't going to look like any of the other campuses, but we knew it was a direction that we wanted to go. And so some things are a little bit different there. The music style is a little bit different. Kind of how they do ministry, but it's still a campus of Crosspoint. In fact, it's been so successful that we're looking right now at starting our second Dream Center and probably partnering with a couple other large churches in Nashville to make it happen. They have the money, we don't. We have the resources to pull it off. How can we partner together and do what we're doing already in West Nashville with our Dream Center? And so one thing that we discovered with our Dream Center is that it can't be about Sunday mornings. It can't be all about the numbers of how many come on Sundays or what the offering is. That's never going to match up with the other campuses, and we have to be okay with that. And it's really about what the ministry is happening during the week after the Sunday morning services, and that's the scorecard that we use for whether we're successful with our Dream Center.
I love that. I love what you said. I think you called it Campus 2.0, and it sounds like you have 2 different scorecards, although each of them, I'm sure, are very similar, but what counts as success is a little different in Campus 2.0. I also love what you're saying about partnering with other churches. Maybe we can hear more about that when we get back together again with this group in November. One more thing, Chris, I know we only have you for a couple more minutes. I'd love to hear, you directly oversee a lot of the ministries, but specifically the small groups, and love to hear what you're learning about what's effective in a multi-site environment with small groups and maybe what works, what doesn't. If you get just in a couple of minutes, if you give us what you're learning in that area.
Sure. Small groups is one of the ministries that we've discovered really works well when the overall philosophy, the direction is supported from a central level. If it's divided up, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, but it doesn't really work to have a controlling visionary at each campus that's kind of deciding the direction and the vision for small groups. What works is when it's supported by all the campus, where the philosophy is the same, but the methodology may be a little bit different. For instance, our largest campus, which is our broadcast campus, is probably 70 to 75% young single adults. And so the small groups that work at that campus, we have very large young adults, mid-sized groups that work really well because they like having a lot of numbers. We can subdivide. We can provide for it on campus. That doesn't work in Dixon, which is mostly 30-plus families. We have tried to start young single adults. We've tried to start college groups, and they just don't work. They're used to more of a kind of a family Sunday school more model, and so we're actually adjusting kind of how small groups look at that campus to fit who those people are, but not changing the overall philosophy of we believe that life change happens best within the context of community. And so that's the overall vision, but how that's carried out may look a little bit different. And that carries over also to how we launch small groups. A Connect event at our largest campus may not look exactly like it does at our smallest campus, but the end goal is still the same.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes with us. Hey, if we wanted to follow up with you, what's the best way to connect if we had a question or just wanted to get some input on something?
Sure. Just email me, chris@crosspoint.tv, and I would love to help in any way that I can. Also, if you want to hit my blog, chrissurratt.com, I've put a lot of our stuff on there, leadership and small group ideas, so you can check that out, but I'd love to help in any way that I can.
Cool. Well, thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.